Dear Diary, it's me, Satvika. It's that time of the year again, my annual Tirumala trip. You already know how I visit Tirumala around 3 to 4 times every year, and this is my first trip for 2026. I was honestly so nervous because this was my first time traveling with Nugo. I usually travel with intercity services, so this felt different already. And to board the main bus, we had to take another one to reach the boarding point. By the time we finally got there, I was already tired from carrying and pulling all the luggage around. I had really high expectations, but I was honestly disappointed. Why? For these reasons. 1. Lack of security. They didn't even ask for OTP or proper identity verification, which honestly felt like a huge red flag to me. 2. The AC was surprisingly weak. I'm literally someone who gets cold easily, but even with all the vents open, I was still sweating the whole time. 3. The smell. Oh my god, there was this weird mechanical smell throughout the journey that kept giving me a horrible headache. 4. Late. The bus was delayed for more than an hour and we had to wait in the jam packed street for more than an hour standing there with absolutely nowhere to sit. 5. No support from staff. The staff, they themselves didn't know when the bus would reach the station. They weren't even sure at what time we would stop for a break, and it wasn't very good experience. Overall, it wasn't terrible, but definitely not satisfactory either. After 7 hours, we finally reached the Alipuri checkpoint, and honestly, it was complete chaos. The place was insanely crowded. We had to stand there in the heat for so long, all while carrying all of our luggage, waiting for the checking process to finish. By that time, I was already exhausted. People were pushing each other non stop just to move ahead faster. And in all that rush and crowd, I even ended up getting a few scratches on my body. It was genuinely such an horrible experience. The heat, the crowd, the pushing, the noise, everything together became way too overwhelming for me. After 45 minutes of pushing and pulling, then I took a breath. We finally began the journey upwards to Tirumala Hill. After all the chaos and exhaustion, this part felt peaceful again. Everything around us was so unbelievably beautiful. Even in the midst of the summer, the hills were still so green and fresh. The air felt calmer, the views kept getting prettier with every turn, and suddenly the tiredness didn't feel that important anymore. I felt like I was back home. We finally reached the guest house, went in, freshened up for a bit, and immediately rushed for breakfast because we were absolutely starving after the overnight journey, the crowd at Alipuri, and all the exhaustion since last night. And one thing I genuinely appreciate about Tirumala is how seriously TTD is trying to keep these sacred hills clean and plastic free. Plastic bottles are banned here, so they instead provide glass bottles. They initially cost 60 rupees, but when you return the bottle, you'll be refunded 40 rupees. It's such a thoughtful initiative to reduce plastic waste in a holy place. We then walked around Lepakshi Circle for a while and eventually reached the CRO office. That's where devotees can apply for the Lucky Dip Seva allotment system. I applied for Purabhishekam, Pulangi or Friday Abhishekam Seva. The slots usually open from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. DIP is conducted around 5:30 and the results are generally sent to our mobile number before 6 p.m. If you get selected, you can make the payment to the link sent to you and attend the Seva. But there is one rule. Once you get selected for a Seva through the DIP, you cannot participate again for the next 6 months. The entire process is a mix of faith, patience and luck. By then, almost half the day was already over. We went back to our room for a while, freshened up, and headed for the darshan of Lord Bhuvarahaswamy. Before that, we stopped for lunch at Naivedyam. The restaurant had such a beautiful traditional ambience that instantly matched the whole Tirumala vibe. It felt calm, authentic, and very devotional in its own way. But honestly, the prices were definitely on a higher side, and mainly they only served South Indian thali. There were no biryanis, fast food, or any other options, so I couldn't eat there. The waiting time was also too long. By that point, we were already tired and hungry, so the waiting there felt never ending. But despite all that, it's still one of my mother's favorite places whenever we visit Tirumala. There's a beautiful significance behind why we take darshan of Lord Bhuvarahaswamy before Venkateshwara Swami. It was because Lord Balaji was granted a place on the Tirumala hills by Varahaswamy. In return, Lord Venkateshwara promised that devotees should first seek the blessings of Bhuvarahaswamy before coming for his darshan. That's why many devotees believe their Tirumala Yatra is only truly complete after first visiting Lord Bhuvarahaswamy. Luckily, there was no line when we went because it was around 4 in the afternoon and the sun was still extremely harsh outside. We got darshan very quickly and peacefully. And then something magical happened. By the time we came back out, Lord Balaji himself came out to give darshan during his sacred procession. The entire atmosphere instantly changed. The chants, the energy, the devotion everywhere. It felt surreal. And then came one of the beautiful moments in the entire trip. We were lucky enough to witness the Utsavamurti darshan during Swami's procession to the Madavedi. Honestly, it felt as if Lord Balaji himself had come out to give me darshan. First came the two majestic Gajarajas walking gracefully ahead of the procession, followed by sacred fire carried by the priests, glowing so beautifully in the evening atmosphere. And finally, Swami himself arrived in his Utsavamurti form. The chants of Govinda, the sound of bells, the crowd folding their hands in devotion, everything together felt so divine that for a few moments I completely forgot about all the exhaustion, the heat, the chaos from earlier. It's honestly one of the favorite movies that stays in your heart forever. At last it was time to enter the temple for darshan. We left our footwear at the TTD locker counters and slowly moved into the queue lines. Hours passed inside the compartments, standing, waiting, walking, stopping, moving again. By then my legs were hurting and I was completely drained. After nearly 4 hours, we finally reached near the sanctum. But before I could fully look at Swami, it was over. The crowd moved so fast that I barely got a glimpse. Within 2 seconds, we were pushed forward by the security and carried away with the flow of people. I stepped out feeling unexpectedly heartbroken. Every single time I visited Tirumala before this, I always felt fulfilled after darshan, no matter how crowded it was. But this time, it felt different. For the first time, I felt like I came all this way and I still couldn't truly see him. And somehow that feeling stayed with me for a long while afterwards. On day 2, we woke up early, got ready, had breakfast, and stepped outside to explore the temple premises. As we were walking, we came across a group performing bhajans near the temple area. The most beautiful part is that this is actually a volunteer seva. People can register for it through the TTT website and participate in singing bhajans throughout the day as an offering to the Lord. We sat there quietly for a few minutes, just listening. No phones, no rushing, no talking, just the sound of Govinda Govinda echoing around us. After that, we spent some time simply walking around and taking in the beauty of the temple. Then we finally went to collect the most important part of every Tirumala trip, laddus. The queue near the laddu counters was surprisingly fast, and the smell of fresh prasadam everywhere instantly made everyone hungry again. We bought the regular laddu, vada prasadam, and also the famous Kalyanam laddu. The prices were 50, 100, and 200 respectively. And honestly, no matter how many times I visit Tirumala, carrying those warm laddus back to the room to share with my family and friends somehow feels like carrying a piece of the temple home with me. For lunch, we went to Annamaya Bhavan. It's a restaurant run by Andhra Pradesh Tourism Development Corporation (APTDC), and honestly, this ended up being one of my favorite food stops during the trip. The food was genuinely so good, proper, comforting Andhra style meals that tasted fresh and homely. What made it even better was the view from there. Sitting and eating while looking at the hills and the greenery somehow made the whole experience feel even calmer. The prices were very reasonable. They had a lot of variety options too. The staff were polite and friendly, and the service was quick, and the ambience felt clean, peaceful, and beautifully maintained. Definitely one of the places I'd happily visit again during my next Tirumala trip. After lunch, we went back to the room and completely crashed. The heat outside was so intense that we honestly couldn't explore any other places during the afternoon. Tirumala summers are no joke. Later at night, we went to Sri Vengamamba and Prasadam for dinner. One of the beautiful things about Tirumala is that the food there is provided completely free of cost by DTD for all the devotees every single day. The place is very special to me because I previously worked there as a volunteer. Seeing the entire process from inside completely changed my perspective. Cooking and serving food to thousands and thousands of devotees every single day is not an easy task at all. The coordination, the effort, the speed, the discipline, everything happening behind the scenes is incredible. It was exhausting, emotional, chaotic, exhilarating, and beautiful all at once, but definitely one of the most unforgettable experiences I've ever had. And just like that, the trip slowly came to an end. The next morning, we checked out, came down the hill, stopped for breakfast on the way, visited Govindaraja Temple for darshan, and headed to the railway station to catch our train back home. Some trips leave you tired, some leave you happy, and some somehow stay in your heart long after they're over. The Tirumala trip gave me a little bit of everything: exhaustion, chaos, peace, devotion, disappointment, beautiful memories, and moments I know I'll never forget. Until next time, Om Namo Venkateshaya.